bit of different generation come on. But what you're still getting, the bad thing that I really see, though, is they were excluding the facts from fiction. You know, starting to just let it all mingle together, you know, no real facts, everything, everybody's got this and that. And, you know, there are some things that are absolute realities, and you cannot be really trying to confuse those with tidbits, you know. I mean, I see some videos and they're talking Dr. Leer didn't do this or he didn't do that. Well, at these times and still doing some of these things, that's what they wanted. But, you know, he was doing the best he could and he was doing the right thing and, you know, getting research done there back then wasn't cheap. I mean, I paid for some of my own research and, you know, people don't realize this. And like say with the society in America today, you know, we got this and that, and you know, well, it's fake news, and you know, we've got this type of a feeling raising its ugly head. So you know, now that people are coming with trying to push this a little more and get some disclosure, you know, that makes it a little harder. And then we got, like say, we got an internet, and we kind of got a lot of quick communications to get everything done, and you know, somebody can alter theirs just a little bit or confuse it, and it sure is making it tougher.
Yeah, it's very fascinating to me that that people have not sought out this is fascinating to me that when Dr. Roger Leer passed away, God bless his soul, because he was quite a pioneer, not in just the medical community, but this whole ufology area. I'm wondering if there's going to be another person to take his place out there, where people can actually, you know, contact a new physician here that would be able to carry on his kind of way of being able to examine these things. Have you heard of anybody else in the field that is willing to do this?
No, I really haven't. You know, anybody that's, you know, taking up the cause at all. No, there could be, and I haven't heard, but nobody's really saying anything to me. And you know, I did, of course. A lot of aren't interested. You know, there were several other surgeries, but you know, it took some dedication. You know, you gave up weekends, and you know, here you've got to go and get it done. And are you going to get anything out of it? You know, that's the other thing. You know, people, you know, nowadays, you know, you need your material gain. But you know, I don't know. I'd hope so, but it's hard to say.
Well, you know, I know, Timothy, being a lawyer myself and delving into this whole field of the paranormal, you know, I've always been interested in this, but it's very interesting. I haven't myself run across very many other professional attorneys that are interested in this field as well. So I would just encourage, you know, any professional, you know, physician out there, medical person, that if they're interested in this, to go ahead and take a step out in faith and you know, reach for the truth.
That's you know, that's what it takes. I mean, hey, you know, I happened the other night. I happened to listen to the last program Dr. Leer did with Art Bell. I happened to run across it, so I listened to it again. It was to about October 2013, and you know, it's, you know, he was trying to get a lot done. You know, somebody could, you know, sure pick it up, but you know, I just don't know. You know, of course.
Yeah, and
maybe it's, you know, it's kind of commonplace nowadays. You know, you got the saturation point is, but like I said, it's the saturation point from an entertainment standpoint of view. You know, I mean, nobody not realizing to really delve into the seriousness of the situation, so to speak, you know? Yeah,
exactly. And you're right with the whole idea of some people not wanting to get involved with this, unless there's some kind of monetary gain involved with it, or they just want to protect their own, reputation as well. Which
sure.
At this point in my career, I'm not really worried about that because the truth is more important than anything else. So,
well, the truth is what there is. I mean, that's all. What else can you say? I mean,
yeah,
the truth is the truth. I mean, there might be some variances to it, but basic core truths are basic core truths. You're a lawyer. That's one thing I was great to get on because many years ago I took my case and went before a Social Security court. What do you call it, judge adjutant or something like that? Because I got fatigue, and I had to give sworn testimony, and I give testimony as to having an implant removed from my body and causing me fatigue, and I really didn't get nothing out. They told me I had to take the government to district court, but then I had to have a lawyer. Well, now that made it interesting. Find me a lawyer who wanted to go into court and help me argue something that doesn't exist. That's what I was looking at.
Very interesting. By the way, Timothy, you just did mention something that I have run across in my UFO research, and the fact that some people who have claimed to have implants that have been removed seem to have some kind of a physical reaction to the implant being removed. Some people say they felt better afterwards. Some people say they felt much worse. Well, how was it for you?
Well, I didn't notice it right away, but then I got a fatigue, and I just chronic fatigue or whatever, and that's what it's been for me. I've kind of got used to it over the years, but that's what kind of snuck up on me early. I mean, really, it sucks, but it's just it's not killing me, but it's more of a nuisance. But like I said, it was really interfered hard with my daily activities there for a while back then, and that was the only thing I could figure out. Is like I say, this object was in my body, and I'm sure that it was, because I had some medical records in the 80s, and they thought I had liver problems. Now, those records I cannot find because the doctor, he passed away, and it was, but I didn't know I had an implant in my body, and we did a bunch of stuff for a couple of years, like giving up blood to float a small boat, and they never found nothing, and just told me it wouldn't kill me, and that's when I quit. I said, well, then I'm going to quit looking, and had other things, but, it was, but then like I said, I got this fatigue, and then I'm thinking, well, they tested me, well, maybe this object was keeping my neurotransmitters high, and then when I took the object out of my body, they went down to normal.
Yeah,
and there you go. I'm not used to it because it was in my body for 20 years. So then I decided, just being swear to go, because I knew that I was really looking at a blank wall, so to speak, applied for Social Security because of disability. I mean, that's what it was doing to me. And it still is, but, and like I say, the guy that I think I could have pulled his string a couple times. I think I could have got him to throw me in jail real easy. I mean, it was an interesting experience. But I'm thinking, well, I'm giving sworn testimony here, and I'm trying to make a point, but nothing ever happened of it. But I do got transcripts. If it comes around, I got the transcripts, I got the documents.
Well, good for you.
I'm going that, Well, that's really what I picked it up for. I knew maybe but later on, at least to have an argument for something, But like I said, my feelings is, this object was in my body for 20 years. Somebody was experimenting on me for 24/7. If you really want to hang tough on it.
Yeah.
Why not? That's American way, isn't it?
Well, that's fascinating. And I can imagine you going in front of an administrative law judge on a case like that and trying to convince them that there was a cause that is very controversial. I mean, those obviously, as you know, those judges and the court systems are jammed up anyway with so many cases and lots of people.
Oh yeah, well yeah, they got people, shysters and everything. But like I said, the one thing I know, it's an absolute. I'm telling the truth, so I don't need to worry about it. You know, and I do got a little scientific evidence. I bet whatever they want to call it, but it'll back. Yeah, I think it's good enough to back me up. You know.
Well, and exactly. Matter of fact, I would like to get into that scientific evidence part of your story, if I could. Can you also walk me through, basically in general terms, how your operation took place? Did you have to go to Dr. Leer's office, or how did that start?
I went out to Thousand Oaks, California. My wife and I, we went out there, and the first thing we went to have to do was, it took a couple of days. Dr. Leer was working, and what he did this. They performed. Dr. John Marciano did the surgery because he's a general surgeon. Dr. Leer didn't do the surgery because he wasn't licensed to operate on that part of the body in the state of California. That wasn't brought up in the aliens have landed. So he couldn't operate on the woman's, he couldn't operate on my wrist because it was illegal for him in the state of California.
Yeah,
but we got out there and then got an x-ray to make sure it was still on my body. And then on a Saturday morning, just did a little general surgery because it was just opening my wrist up. But he'd got a fluoroscope. It just showed up on the video of my surgery so they could keep an eye on it and operate it on in real time. And they got a hold of the object. It moved just a little bit, but they got it and then pulled it up, and a little snippet was out. When they hooked a hold of it, it was hooked to my nervous system, and my arm really lit up and really got sore. Of course, my arm, I'd noticed that for the 20 years, but I'd had an automobile accident about a month before I was abducted, and that did some serious damage to my body, and neck-wise and nerve-wise, and that, so anything that happened with the object when it was in my body for those 20 years, I just naturally assumed when I'm getting this nerve sensation and stuff that it was due to my injuries to my neck from that accident. But then they take the object out, and Dr. Leer did some research on it, and I healed up in a couple of days, and that was that.
Now, is it my understanding is that these kinds of implants don't really create any inflammatory response in your wrist, for instance? Well, was it inflamed at the time?
No. Around all the metallic objects that Dr. Leer removed, there was a biological membrane made of keratin, hemoceratin, and the protein colliglium. Now, within this membrane, there are proprioceptor cells, and those are the cells in your fingers that sense pressure that you feel with. But this membrane envelops these metallic objects, and they put it in the body, and so with this membrane around it, the body doesn't know that it's even there.
Yeah, I've heard.
It's completely hid, and like I said, I wondered how it always hooked to my nervous system. Well, these objects have to be powered a little bit. Now, I ran into Daryl Sims several months ago, and I got a little information about the earlier ones. He really didn't elaborate with me with a lot of information, but I was able to kind of get the smell that, they somehow with his connections, they'd done some, and the objects were deteriorating rapidly, and then when they got a hold of Dr. Leer doing it, and figured out to put them in blood serum and let them wind down, fool them that they was not in the body. But, mine, I think the membrane, when they put it in there, and the thing's got some battery power, puts out hormones, draws your nervous system over toward it, and then it hooks up to the body like that, and starts functioning. But yeah, they didn't know. And like I said, that was another thing that I was with when this membrane with anti-rejection properties within the human body was, I got pretty excited, hey man, this might be something that we can be using for organ transplants. especially kidneys, because I had a good friend back then, and he'd got his third kidney,